Hi guys, Irina here and welcome back to my channel where I review everything tech. In today's video, let's talk about the Google Pixel 6a. Let's dive into all the details and nuances when it comes to using this phone, so let's begin. A few words about the design of this phone. The Pixel 6a looks like a miniature version of the Google Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, and I personally love the design of this phone. The Pixel 6a is perfect in terms of size if you're not a fan of bulky phones, but at the same time, it's not too small. Comparing it to the last year's Pixel 5a, these phones are very close in terms of size, but as you can see, the new Pixel 6a has a more squared off shape, just like the whole Pixel 6 lineup. This phone comes in three beautiful colors, and honestly, I was most curious about the sage color, but I got my unit in chalk color and I love it. It looks really nice. It actually reminds me a little of the original Panda look, if you know what I mean. This phone has a good weight to it. It's pretty lightweight, but not to the point where it feels cheap. Now let's talk about the display of this phone. Here we have a flat 6.1-inch AMOLED display with Full HD Plus resolution. The Pixel phones are usually pretty good when it comes to how sharp their displays are, even when it comes to budget models, and this phone is no exception. All the icons, texts, and photos look pretty sharp, no complaints here. When it comes to brightness, this phone is pretty good. Comparing the Pixel 6a and the Pixel 6 Pro side by side, I would say they're pretty close to each other. Sometimes it seems like the 6 Pro is just a little bit brighter, but this difference is hardly noticeable. When it comes to using this phone outdoors, I would say this phone is pretty average, so it's not outstanding in the harsh sunlight, but still usable. The Pixel 6a is limited to 60Hz refresh rate, and honestly, when I just found out about it, I was genuinely surprised and a little disappointed because, let's face it, in 2022, there are so many phone companies that give you 90 or 120Hz on their budget phones, so yeah, 60Hz sounds a little surprising to me. Obviously, my Pixel 6 Pro with a 120Hz refresh rate feels so much smoother whether you're switching between the apps or just swiping through your Instagram feed. But of course, 60Hz is not the end of the world. You get used to the refresh rate on your phone very quickly and then you don't even think about it. So yeah, 60Hz refresh rate is no biggie, just a little surprising. Speaking of the display features, if you've ever used a Pixel phone, they will be quite familiar to you. Of course, you get the adaptive brightness if you don't want to fidget with the brightness slider, the dark theme, the extra dim that comes in handy if you want to check your phone in the middle of the night. Then we have the night light that makes the screen more yellow and less harsh, which is less strenuous on your eyes. And then we have this color inversion mode. Next, let's talk about the camera setup and the camera performance on this phone. We have a dual camera here, the 12.2 megapixel main camera and the 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera. In my unboxing video, I've already talked in detail about the camera app and the camera features that you get on the Pixel 6a. Check it out if you want to know more about it. But now let's dive into the actual camera performance on the Pixel 6a. Well, unsurprisingly, as you can see, I got really nice photos with the Pixel 6a. The colors look very natural and close to the real colors that I saw with my own eyes. The ultra-wide photos look beautiful as well. The Pixel 6a doesn't have a telephoto camera, so you won't be able to get super sharp 10 times or 15 times zoom photos with this phone. The maximum zoom on the Pixel 6a is 7 times, but I would say these photos are not bad. When it comes to videos, the Pixel 6a provides very natural colors, just like in the photos. As you can see, the video stabilization is amazing on the Pixel 6a, whether using the main camera or the ultra-wide camera. Both cameras support 4K resolution. Speaking of night photos, the Pixel 6a has the night sight mode that lets you get the best possible shot in certain light conditions. These particular photos were taken in very low light, so it was more challenging for this phone. And of course, you'll get better and sharper looking photos when there is more light outside. Speaking of the front camera, we have an 8-megapixel front camera on the Pixel 6a, and I got pretty nice selfies with this phone. And as you can see, the video stabilization on the front camera is pretty good. When it comes to selfie videos, you're limited to 1080p resolution, and by the way, this is the mic test, so this is the sound from the Google Pixel 6a. What do you think, guys? Now let's talk about battery life. There is a 4410 mAh battery on the Pixel 6a, and from my experience, the battery life is very good on this phone. With moderate use, it easily lasts me through the day. I don't even have to charge it every day. And with heavy use, this phone is still pretty solid when it comes to battery life. Keep in mind that this time around we don't get the power brick in the box with the Pixel 6a. I think last year's Pixel 5a was the last Pixel that came with the power adapter, but if you own any older Pixel model, you must have this 18-watt power adapter. It takes 1 hour and 56 minutes to charge the Pixel 6a from 0% to 100. And in case you were thinking about getting this 30-watt charger from Google, keep in mind that you won't get faster charge speed with the Pixel 6a. As you can see, it took exactly the same 1 hour and 56 minutes to charge this phone from 0% to 100. The Pixel 6a doesn't support wireless charging or reverse wireless charging, which is quite expected since this is a mid-range phone, and of course Google holds off all the fancy features for their more expensive models. But having said that, this phone still has some basic battery features like adaptive battery and adaptive charging. When it comes to security features on this phone, the main feature is the fingerprint unlock, which is pretty fast. So far, I've never had any problems with it. Also, I would say the location of the fingerprint sensor is convenient, so I have zero complaints here. Of course, I've heard about that weird thing where other people could unlock your Pixel 6a with their fingers, and I got curious and tried it on my unit, but as you can see, my husband was not able to unlock my phone, so my unit is totally fine. And as far as I know, the majority of users don't have this issue with the Pixel 6a as well. At the moment, there is no face unlock on the Pixel 6a, just like on the whole Pixel 6 lineup, but we can expect it later as the Android 13 is rolling out. Speaking of other security features, we get the familiar smart lock that keeps your phone unlocked in certain circumstances. For example, when your phone is on you, or if it's at your home or at another trusted place. Also, we have the app pinning feature. Well, I would say on this phone you get all the basic security features you would get on any Pixel phone. Now let's talk about the speakers. We have stereo speakers on the Pixel 6a, they're quite loud. I would say the sound quality is not as good as on my Pixel 6 Pro because the sound is richer and slightly louder on the 6 Pro, but still I would call these speakers on the Pixel 6a pretty decent, and I think it's more than enough for an average user. The Pixel 6a is powered by Google Tensor, the first chip designed by Google, and the same chip that we have on the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro. This phone has 6GB of RAM and 128GB of non-expandable storage. Unfortunately, this is the only configuration, so you cannot go for, say, a 256GB storage option, but I think 128 is not too bad. When it comes to overall performance, so far so good. This phone has been quite zippy and responsive, no freezes, no glitches. The gaming experience is very smooth on the Pixel 6a, so I can't complain here. The price for the Google Pixel 6a is $449 in the US. Of course, this phone has its pros and cons, but I think there are more advantages to this phone. First of all, very good and reliable camera performance, amazing battery life, and of course, all the favorite and helpful Google features that this phone supports. Let me know what you guys think about this phone. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.